We have an interview with a prominent Ukrainian writer currently in Ukraine who tells us how morale is in the country's western region.
Stash and I talked to people at a demonstration in Taipei supporting Ukraine.
Former U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff Michael Mullen has a message for Taiwan.
Then, in Hashtag Taiwan, I'm going to tell you about Taiwan's online reaction to the Russia-Ukraine war. This is Taiwan Insider.
Welcome to the show. Taiwan wants to support Ukraine as it faces a Russian invasion. This week, the government sent 27 tons of medical supplies to Ukraine. Taiwan has set up an account for donations to Ukrainian refugees. The president and many businesses have already made large pledges. And to find out more about how people in Ukraine are doing, I spoke with award-winning Ukrainian writer Yurii Andrukhovych, who is in Ivano-Frankivsk, where many are taking refuge. I asked him what the mood was like there.
We have absolutely calm and peaceful atmosphere. We had just one rocket attack on the very first day of this war. It was early in the morning. I woke up because of the sounds of some explosion. It was an attack on our airport.
Oh.
Because we have there a quite big military unit, so actually not the civil airport, but Ukrainian airplanes were already in air, so they were saved, all of them, and they can fight today in other parts of Ukraine, and they do it very successful. Yes, it was the only extreme situation in our city. Of course, we do have some air alarms every day. We must go to the shelters. Actually, the life is normal, but you can see on the streets the people who are going a little bit faster as usually. Cafes and restaurants and many shops are closed. And we also have a lot of refugees from other parts of the country where the war is really hard and cruel. Our people organized here some info points where they can get some information about the possibilities with housing and other kinds of support.
Oh, that's great.
And many men are voluntarily in the troops. They got already weapons and they are ready to defend our city and our region if the Russian troops come here. But I don't think this. I see this war is absolutely unsuccessful for aggressors. They are beaten everywhere. Actually, they don't have any big successes. It means that the civil people here, the population, is in a good mood. We get the good news from the front, so the people are motivated to do their best to support our army and our state.
Well, you know, the whole world is inspired by your nation's resistance. And your president. Tell me how you're doing personally.
Yes, I am working a lot in the way we do now with you. So I get loads and loads of requests. Oh, I'm sorry, we have alarm. I have to... Maybe we can continue, but I hear the sound of air alarm right now.
You need to go?
I probably just remain here at home.
Anything you would like to tell the world?
Yes. I see this reaction. We are absolutely touched by this huge wave of support. And so I hope very much that the way Ukraine to Western, to European structures will be much quicker than this 2 or 3 decades before. During of the last 6-7 days, we got such a massive empathy and political support from all the civilized countries. We are together now with the European Union, with the USA, with Britain, and it's very important for Ukraine to have this prospect on the horizon and to see we are getting much, much, much closer to a free democratic world.
Well, it's wonderful to hear the high morale that's in Ukraine, and our prayers are with you. We hope that you'll be victorious.
A signal of siren, so we have to go to the shelter.
Okay.
You're right.
Stay safe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. It was great to see how positive Yurii is. Next up, Stash and Leslie look at how people in Taiwan are responding to the war.
In the past week, Taipei's Xinyi district has been the site of repeated demonstrations calling for an end to the war in Ukraine. RTI reporters were there on Tuesday to hear the protesters' demands.
As Russia continues to attack Ukraine, countries around the world are escalating sanctions against Russia, and people are protesting. On Tuesday in Taipei, Ukrainians led a demonstration in front of Moscow's representative office, calling on the world to stand with Ukraine. A Ukrainian protester named Vadim showed pictures of civilians and children injured by Russian attacks. He called on people around the world to unite and support Ukraine.
We need to stick together, like stick together Ukrainian. We need to be like one and fight back. Russia is a dangerous country right now. We must isolate them from normal world.
Another protester named Tanya thanked Taiwan for its humanitarian aid and asked for continued support. She shared how she felt when she heard stories of atrocities committed during the fighting.
I really can hold my tears when I hear the story when Russian soldiers go to hospital with cancer kids and keep them like human shield. They shoot them and kill them.
In Taiwan, more than 3,600 people have signed a petition calling on Russia to get out of Ukraine. An employee from the Moscow representative office took the petition as Ukrainians and others in Taiwan continued their calls for peace.
Now, Leslie and I spoke to some of the protesters after the demonstration to find out what brought them there.
My name is Aushra. I am Lithuanian and I come here today to support Ukraine. It's not only based on what political issues, it's as a human, this kind of war act is not acceptable, it's totally barbaric. Taiwan has a little bit similar situation, and so far I heard that China is threatening Taiwan even more, and I think Taiwanese people, they should support same countries, in the same position.
Because we face the same situation from China and it's kind of similar. Yeah. So I think some of the Taiwanese people are very kind of worried, but I think it's similar, but it's also a different situation. So I don't know. Yeah.
Back in 2019, when Hong Kong is having protests by that time facing Chinese government, Ukrainian did a lot of things to support us, no matter on sending us message, donate, helping us to propagandas.
We have a long history together with like imperialist Russia, the Soviet Russia, right? And we know we cannot trust, right? So we learned our lesson and we strongly support struggling countries. We do really our best.
Yeah, they give us some sanction from Taiwan, so it support Ukraine a lot. But it's going to support not right now, it's going to support in the future. If you want to support right now, we need donation. It's just the most powerful thing what Taiwanese people can do for Ukraine
And
right now.
stop all business with Russia is possible, because that money
Yeah, it's like bullet for our soldier to kill our
is
people,
bombs
civilian
for our
kids.
kids. It's bombs for our kids. This money paying for the murders.
It's so hard for Ukraine to stand alone, to fight alone. But then, if we can stick together as a unity, our force or our strength will be much more bigger, much more capability to facing the enemy.
We hear that all world right now praying for us, but we don't need right now pray. Pray is not enough. We need to fight. We need to fight back and stick together.
And symbols of support for Ukraine are appearing in all kinds of places, and that includes the dazzling light displays of Taiwan's Lantern Festival.
Ukrainian flag colors yellow and blue light up a river walkway in southern Taiwan. This is at the 2022 Yuejin Lantern Festival in Tainan. Though the event is normally a festive occasion, the light display reminds visitors that Ukraine is facing a devastating attack. People who pass by the Ukrainian flag display voice their desire for peace. One man says he thinks the lights are a good way for Taiwan to show its support for Ukraine as it resists invasion by Russia. Elsewhere, in Taiwan's Pingtung County, a park has also lit up with yellow and blue. Taiwan and Ukraine are over 8,000 kilometers apart, but Taiwanese people want Ukrainians to know that the two stand side by side. Meanwhile, Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen met with a delegation of former U.S. defense officials on Tuesday. Observers say it's a show of support at a time of heightened international tension.
President Tsai Ing-wen met with a special bipartisan delegation of senior U.S. officials on Wednesday morning. The visiting group includes the retired chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Michael Mullen, and the former Deputy National Security Advisor on Iraq and Afghanistan, Megan O'Sullivan. The director of the American Institute in Taiwan, Sandra Oudkirk, was also at Wednesday's meeting. After a round of greetings, it was time to get down to business. President Tsai said that U.S. President Biden choosing to send a delegation to Taiwan at a time when the world's attention is focused on the events in Ukraine shows not only the importance of U.S.-Taiwan cooperation, but also the rock-solid relations between the two countries. She also said the visit highlights Taiwan's role in maintaining global and regional security and the need for democratic societies to band together. Tsai restated Taiwan's condemnation of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and highlighted the fact that the country has joined international sanctions on Moscow as well as humanitarian efforts in the region.
We come to Taiwan at a very difficult and critical moment in world history. As President Biden has said, democracy is facing sustained and alarming challenges, most recently in Ukraine. Now more than ever, democracy needs champions.
President Tsai also talked about the growing military threat from China and its unceasing efforts to undermine Taiwan's democracy. Tsai said Taiwan wants to tell the world it is determined to defend itself and protect its democratic way of life. She said the Ukraine crisis tells us that positive action and cooperation between democratic countries is key.
I do hope by being here with you, we can reassure you and your people, as well as our allies and partners in the region, that the United States stands firm behind its commitments.
President Tsai said that appeasing invaders only creates more threats down the road. The American delegation stressed that the United States will continue to oppose any unilateral changes to the status quo and support a peaceful resolution to the Taiwan Strait problem that conforms with the will and the best interests of the Taiwanese people.
Next up, Leslie looks at how the Twitter sphere is responding to events in Ukraine in #Taiwan.
The topic dominating headlines this week, and I'm guessing for the foreseeable future, is Russia's invasion into Ukraine, as it should be. The entire situation is bad. Now, I'm not talking about the underlying politics. I'm talking about the loss of human life and the extreme stress and anxiety that the Ukrainian people are going through. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to hear air raid sirens, explosives, and jet engines going off in the distance while I'm trying to live my life. Today, let's go over some of the online reactions about Ukraine in Taiwan. Taiwan very much stands with Ukraine. President Tsai Ing-wen said she does multiple times on Twitter in posts condemning Russia and announcing sending aid to Ukraine. Vice President Lai Ching-te has also tweeted, "The people and government of Taiwan stand with Ukraine. The principle of self-determination cannot be erased by brute force." Then, Taiwan's legislature held a rally on Wednesday morning showing support for Ukraine, as seen here in a tweet by Marcin Yezhevsky. Aurora Chang also tweeted this picture of a Formosan black bear holding up a sign that says, "Stand with Ukraine." The tweet thread contains a collection of links that tell people how they can help Ukraine. Meanwhile, Taiwan Birds tweeted pictures of birds and bugs that bear Ukrainian flag colors, blue and yellow. Then, Taiwan-based bird artist Alice Tams is auctioning off pictures of birds and donating proceedings to organizations that are helping Ukraine. Marcin also found information on how many Ukrainian people are in Taiwan. According to the Interior Ministry, there are around 247 Ukrainians in Taiwan. All of them are heartbroken at what's going on, but they're also doing their part in Taiwan to help their homeland. One of these people is Larissa Bakarova, naturalized Taiwanese actress, rhythmic gymnast, and former Miss Kyiv. She said in a Facebook post that she's angry and upset at what's happening in Ukraine. She said that anyone who participates in or supports this war should be ashamed of themselves. However, I think it's important to say that just because Russia is invading Ukraine, that doesn't give people the right to vilify all Russian people across the board. The world needs less hate right now, not more. And Ukrainian YouTuber in Taiwan, Tatiana, demonstrated that when she and her Russian friend Sasha said neither of them wanted this war. Finally, Taiwan's foreign ministry announced earlier this week that it established a donation fund for people in Taiwan who want to support Ukraine. So if you're in Taiwan and you want to support Ukraine by donating some money, I'm going to leave this information right up here for you. And now before we leave you, here's a look at some of the other news stories that are on our radar.
Former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arrived in Taiwan on Wednesday evening. On Thursday, Pompeo met with President Tsai Ing-wen and received the Order of Brilliant Star in recognition of his contributions to promoting Taiwan-U.S. relations. The agenda for his 4-day visit also includes meetings with senior Taiwanese officials. According to Taiwan's foreign ministry, Pompeo, who served as Secretary of State under President Donald Trump, pushed for closer bilateral ties and a stronger U.S. commitment to Taiwan's security. A malfunction at the Xingda power plant in Kaohsiung on Thursday morning resulted in widespread power outages across Taiwan. The malfunction and subsequent power imbalance caused circuits to trip in substations downstream, affecting over 5 million households and businesses. The causes of the original malfunction are still under investigation. Taiwan's cabinet says that it will work to speed up projects aimed at providing a more stable power supply. On Friday last week, Taiwan officially retired its fleet of M41A3 Walker Bulldog tanks after more than 60 years of service. Military authorities made the decision to decommission the tank after a fatal accident in 2020. The model became increasingly obsolete over decades of service, while maintenance proved ever more costly and difficult. Taiwan has ordered a number of modern M1 Abrams tanks from the US as replacement.
And we're back in the studio for our final question of the week. Now, this week, obviously, we're talking about the situation in Ukraine, and our hearts go out to everybody who's affected by what's going on. And I wanted to pose to my co-hosts, how are you going to support Ukraine? So let's start with Natalie this week, actually, because we want to start with Stash.
Okay, sure. Well, I think it's a real David and Goliath situation out there. So I'm going to support with my prayers. Prayers for Ukraine. Prayers for some miracles.
For me, I hope to maybe get involved in doing some translation. Because I studied Russian at university. A lot of Ukrainians speak Russian as a first or second language. So hopefully that would be of some use.
Is there overlap with the Ukrainian Russian language a lot?
They're similar, but they're different. So I can't speak Ukrainian. But if the Ukrainian spoke Russian, I could definitely help with translation for that.
Gotcha. My contribution would be, I think information is very important. Working in the media, you know all too well that the media cycles very, very quickly, and it's easy for something like this to kind of fizzle out and people's attention to be shifted somewhere else. So I think keeping the conversation going, keep talking about it, that's going to be really, really important. And obviously, we can donate what we can, but make sure that the awareness around the news stays alive.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway, that just about does it for this week's edition of Taiwan Insider. I'm Leslie Liao.
I'm Staś Butler.
And I'm Natalie Tso.
Make sure to follow us on our social media channels.
Yes, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, tweet at us and let us know what you're doing to support Ukraine. Our handle is Taiwan Insider. Anyway, until next week, we'll see you around.